Alan Karpick here with Tom Dienhart. Time to talk some Purdue football, and nobody covers it better than Tom and all the work he does with goldenblack.com. You know, you've had now Zoom interviews, I think, with all the assistant coaches. Is that correct? Just about. And I guess it's hard to put into words, but your overall impression of the guys, and I know it's a little bit tough when you aren't seeing them on the field just yet, but just a chance to kind of intermingle with them a little bit. What has been your takeaways with this group of Barry Odom's staff?
All business, I guess, would be a maybe a good little working headline, if you will. I mean, again, this is all from 10,000 feet at this point. But
Yeah,
what they
Zoom
say,
will do that. Yeah, go ahead.
that doesn't mean we can't have an opinion, right?
Yeah,
We're never short of opinions. But yeah, I think it's an organized group. I think it's a mature group. It's a group you can tell there's already that connectiveness that everybody in any organization, especially sports, always love to talk about their connectivity.
mm-hmm.
So, and again, you just look at their bloodlines and how often these guys have worked together throughout their careers. So there's a familiarity, Alan. You know what, like, you want to hire people you know. You want to hire people you've worked with because for obvious reasons, we all know the reasons why. You can trust them. You know what their work ethic is. You know what they're about. And so then it looks like Odom obviously was very conscious of that when you put this staff together. And then, of course, now, Alan, they're trying to lay that foundation they've been talking about. Trying to let guys know how they want things done. And again, that always ubiquitous word, Alan Karpick, culture. They're trying to establish their culture. Did anybody talk about culture in the 1980s? I always wonder about that.
Yeah.
Did Leon Burnett ever talk about culture? But I digress. Maybe that was Leon's problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are the types of rudimentary things they're trying to do right now. They're lifting weights. They're doing some workouts by themselves. And then, Alan, before you know it, my friend, next week is the last full week of February, if you can believe that. March will be here, and then March 4th, buddy, they're pumping the air on the pigskin and having some spring football.
Yeah. Any indication yet on? I know the schedule's out there. Any indication on availability? I know you've written a little bit about that this week.
You know, it's funny. I was over I was over at Kozich the other day, doing that something real quick with Barry Odom, and was talking to a staffer, and there's a chance, Alan, the practices may be wide open, at least for the media. They weren't sure about the general public, but so again, I'm hopeful. When I heard that, I mean, there's nothing in stone yet, but so there's a chance that I would be allowed. Some people look at it as punishment. Be allowed to watch a 2-hour spring football from start to finish, from stretch to whistle.
Yeah, and that is probably the only way that you can really evaluate what these personalities are, by seeing them in the heat of the battle, these assistant coaches, because you did mention the word culture, and Purdue needs to change that when you have a 1-11 season. That's by definition. But you sit down with Barry Odom, your impressions there. Again, all business. We've been around him a few times, but doesn't seem to be overwhelmed by what he needs to get done. He seems to be. Is your impression that he's taking it one step at a time, or how does it look?
Yeah, I was over there doing that Boilermaker Alliance interview in his office, and yeah, you know, he's a guy. I always admire people. You're kind of like this, where they always seem unflustered. They never seem rushed. He never seems rushed. You know, if that was me, Alan, sometimes I would look at my SID or my schedule. God, do I really have to do this?
Yeah.
I maybe would try to hurry through something. You know what? You always feel like you got his full attention. You've got Barry Odom. His feet are where they're planted, Alan.
Yeah.
He's going to give you everything he's got at that moment. That's always an admirable trait. And yeah, again, he always speaks in very measured tones. You can tell he's a savvy head coach who's been through media training or knows how to handle media, knows what to say. But I tried to get some other bits of personal information out of him that's non-football related. If you're a member of the Boilermaker Alliance, you can watch that. But and yeah, you know, I'll tell you one thing, Alan, was the portal. We were just kind of discuss the portal real quick. And boy, you know, they brought in 29 portal guys, right? I'm just going to say this. They're not done.
Yeah.
There's going to be quite a few more portal additions, it sounds like, in this April window when we get here in a couple months.
Where are they? And and it's you're good at keeping track of that 105 number. Where is do
Yeah.
they? Where are they? Or is it hard to tell right now in terms of how
Well,
many in or how many out, how many spots they might have available?
yeah, I've got that. I pinned it to the top of the
Right.
Knucklehead Central message board. I put together a 20, I call it a football roster distribution chart. And I have them according to my account, Alan, and I'm getting my numbers just from the official roster on the website. I've included walk-ons on this roster distribution chart. I have them at 110 players right now, and they've got to be at 105 is the roster limit for FBS football. So there you go. They're not concerned with getting there, obviously, at this point. That number could swell well beyond 110, maybe through the course of the summer. Who knows? But that's where it is. Barry Odom talked about that a little bit. UNLV, they didn't have big numbers to begin with, so he kind of got used to having them work with and play with a pretty small roster, right at about 105. Where he said some schools could have huge rosters up to 120 or 30 guys. So my point being, Alan, this is a road he's traversed before. Very mindful of your numbers. Everybody's going to have injuries. What happens when you get injuries? There's no waiver wire. So we discussed some of those type of topics too. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this roster continues to come together, Alan, and what the finals number look position by position in particular.
Well, and this you may not know the answer to this question, but just on the will it be like a taxi squad in the NFL where if you're rostered at 105 and you have some injuries, you can bring some guys in, or is there going to be do you have any idea how that's going to work? I'm
Nothing.
just curious.
There's nothing like that. There's no JV squad, if you will. There's no taxi squad, if you will. There's no practice squad that you see in the NFL. That'd be an ideal, right? To have a little
Yeah.
developmental group of 10 guys or something, and establish a set of rules around them. But no, not the aware of, Alan. That's your 105, man. And if you get 10 guys injured, you got to deal with a roster of 95 guys. So yeah,
Well,
it's the way of the world, and you have to be mindful. It's really nothing new, I guess, overall. But especially it's a concern at those positions where you don't have great numbers because you don't have a great need, like a kicker in particular, long snapper, some of those specialty positions, and sometimes quarterback to a degree as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's even talking about needing more offensive linemen to be,
Yeah.
which you always need more offensive linemen if you're Barry Odom or any coach, and that certainly has been an area. So you've taken us through position groupings and the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers. I know on the site on Friday, it's they're all interesting because they're all different, with the exception maybe of running back that you have an A player with Devin Mockabee that's gonna hold that position down. But which one intrigues you the most, or are they all going to be intriguing because they're all so different at this point?
It's a sea of names, Alan.
Yeah.
I can imagine the general fan out there looks at those files and has no clue who any of these guys are, and that's understandable. Boy, the most intriguing. I tell you what, the two I think are a wide receiver and defensive back, but I guess I'm going to go with defensive back. That's the spot that lost the most players through the portal, Alan. I think it was 11 guys.
Right. Unbelievable.
That they're basically starting from scratch. They've got some guys who redshirted last year, some freshmen, some redshirt freshmen back. But if you're a veteran with any significance experience, you're gone. So This is totally revamped secondary. How's it going to come together? Going to be fascinating, right? It's going to be very fascinating. So that's the one area I think. And again, I'll go back to receiver too, Alan. 5 players hit the portal. The quote-unquote best veteran back is Denylon Morissette, as far as the top pass catcher goes. So there you go. Jaden Dixon-Veals, another name maybe familiar to people. He's back. Armand Branch, a young kid from Festus, Missouri, he's back. But Alan, they're starting over there. Jamal Edrin's gone. C.J. Smith is gone. Jerron Tibbs is gone. So they're basically, again, the one promising youngster, Shamar Rigby, left too. So
yeah.
again, they got their pockets turned inside out trying to redo this receiving unit. And like they brought in 5 kids too, Alan. None of them have a real fat scrapbook, as I like to say. The maybe the most touted one is the kid from Tennessee, Nathan Lecoq. But yeah, I know nobody knows, Alan. So I guess defensive back and wide receiver to me are going to be two very intriguing groups.
You know, you always say how you admire guys that aren't flustered. You're not flustered by dealing with all this change. You just deal with it. That's a good attribute to have. You're going to have your hands full. I mean, you already do with trying to keep this straight down throughout the course of the spring.
Yeah,
Paul Feinbaum wrote. I was going to say, it talked a little bit this week and on our site. It wasn't on our site, but it was an article that, or I think it's what he talked about on a show this week, just about the general fatigue of fans and the concern that there may be in terms of all this flux. We've talked about this before, but are we? How much of that is a danger if you're not only a Purdue fan, but all this change and all these new players and nobody loyal to any place at this point in time. What do you see? What do you see in your crystal ball, or is this the new normal that we just will eventually deal with?
It's the new normal, Alan. As much as guys like you and I want our fist and yell at the clouds,
yeah,
it's not going back to how it was. So they always say change or perish. I heard that a long time ago. Change or perish, and yeah, it's different. And no, I'm not a fan of it either. I was talking to somebody about their experience of the players. Like I think back to the Drew Brees came in 97. Those group of guys went to school together for 4 years. This friendship with Benny Sutherland, Matt Mitrione, Tim Stratton, the stuff you go through for 4 or 5 years together, it's gone, Alan.
Yeah,
these guys are playing at 4 schools in 5 years. So I mean, maybe I'm romanticizing, but gosh, this is an experience. I guess if you don't know, if you never had the experience, you don't know you missed it, right? But that was a cool thing about college, even for us, living in a fraternity, being with the same guys for a few years.
Yeah.
I'm still friends with all those guys, and these guys are kind of carpetbaggers. Some of them are chasing it from school to school. But yeah, I could see where maybe fans get a little fatigued with it. But Alan, the one thing, you know what? If your school wins, you're not fatigued, right? So that's the bottom line. That's the same as it's been since they first started competing. The cavemen started competing, right? Everybody loves a winner, and if you win, fans aren't going to care how you put your roster together.
All right, well said. And I think there is a lot to that. We'll just have to get used to it. We're getting used to it, and there will be storylines throughout the course of spring ball. Tom will be covering that extensively starting March the 4th, correct? Spring game or whatever it's going to be is April 12th?
April 12th, and Pro Day is going to be on March 5th.
Right.
Put something on the site. I've talked to Gus Hartwig last week. Big Gus is in Fort Myers, Florida. He's not down there on the beach suntanning, frisbee and surfboarding. He's working out at X3. He'll be up here at Pro Day. It ought to be a pretty good turnout for Pro Day on the 5th, and I'm going to have more on that as we get closer as well. And again, the combine starts up here too. Alan Marcus Bowe is going to be working out in Indianapolis. The offensive lineman will work out late in the week, and Marcus will be in West Lafayette to go through Pro Day as well.
All right, we'll look forward to that coverage as we always do. All right, Tom, thanks so much for your time and expertise. Stay tuned. We'll have Mike DeCourcy, a guy that Tom Dienhart knows well. We'll talk a little bracketology, Purdue basketball, trying to figure out where the Boilermakers are going to land here, not only the NCAA tournament, maybe on Sunday too when they play Indiana. Going to be an interesting thing to watch. Tom, have a great rest of your day and stay tuned. We'll be back in a couple minutes.